Hi everybody, this is Chris from MoxieDori. Usually it's Amy, today it's me. I wanted to talk about the flat compasses that we make. We currently have two sizes in the shop, and the first question that might come to mind is why did you make them? And the second question might be what's the difference between the two? So that's what we're going to talk about today. You can see here I have very traditional tools in front of me. I've got one of these old school compasses that all of us used in grade school, and I have a metal ruler, and that's usually the way that folks have been making circles for things like mandalas and trackers. We feel like this is inconvenient for two reasons. First of all, this and this cannot store easily inside your journal. Obviously. Secondly, this has a really pointy spike here that when you use it on your journal, it makes a hole in your paper and it's irritating. So these are some, not all, but some of the reasons why we felt like this could be done better. So let's take a look next at what we ended up making. Okay, so this is the original MoxieDori Compass Protractor. And you can see that it's got holes in it, much like a geometry stencil might for the smaller radius circles. When you want something larger than this one, you start using these dots that radiate out as your guide to making larger ones. Okay, I zoomed in a little bit so that hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So, all I need, and this could easily fit in my journal, and I could have it with me at any time, is these three things. And maybe, if you prefer, a mechanical pencil for the last piece. So when you use a traditional compass like this, after you draw the circles, then you've got to figure out the divisions, and that also is like this giant mystery for a lot of people. How do I get equal divisions out of the circle I just made? And a lot of times you don't. That's what this does, all in one tool, which is why we made it. So I'm going to take a everyday normal paper clip and I'm going to open it up like this and use it as a tool here. You could use a lot of different things. The paper clip is nice because it's something that you can keep in your journal, and it doesn't poke a hole in your paper. So to start, I'm going to put it through the center like this. And that is, I'm going to hold that steady. That's not going to move while I'm working. And I have a basic fine liner here. You could use a fine Sharpie or a lot of different tools, but you'll notice I'm not making it with pencil. I'm doing it with pen, so it's not something I'm going to have to go over later that might look wobbly. It's going to be done on the first try. So if I want a circle that's bigger than this larger circle here, I would just place my paper clip in the center hole and put my fine liner in that hole and go. Amy's better at this than I am. Her hands aren't as shaky. I've had too much coffee. Let's say I want a couple more. Okay. Okay, so you can see I chose 3 different holes and went around 3 times, and now I have 3 concentric circles. When you do this in your journal, these lines will line up perfectly on your grid if that's your thing. For a lot of people it is, so we decided to make this really precise and allow people that type of precision in their journals if they wanted it. Okay, so now that I've made my circles, now I want my divisions, and that's where you could use a mechanical pencil if you want. And there are these little tick marks that go all the way around the Compass Protractor, and they will divide your circles into as many as 32 equal parts or as little as 2 equal parts. You could put one here and put one here and divide your circle in half and be done. Or you could put a mark in every slot and divide your circle into 32 equal pieces. Depends on what you want to use it for. People use these to make daily, monthly trackers, intention wheels, small decorative mandalas. So there are all kinds of possibilities using this tool. I'm just gonna, for the sake of showing you, divide this set of circles into 4 parts. So I very lightly made the marks for where my divisions are going to occur, and now I'm just going to make sure that I'm lined up with the very slight indentation that the paperclip made, and maybe I want to leave the center open because I'm going to put something there like the date. I don't have to go across the whole thing. And there you have it. So this is the premise of why we made the Compass Protractor in the first place. And next I'm going to show you our larger version that is meant to make really large mandalas that you can fill in with information rather than just be a decorative element on your page. And I'll show you that next. We have a much larger version of the Compass Protractor that we make. And the reason why we made it is because people wanted to make mandalas or trackers that consumed the entirety of their spread, or maybe they wanted to do a half mandala or half tracker on one page. And so you can see by the size, if you're working in a Moleskine or a Lectrum, I always pronounce it incorrectly, this will fit perfectly in your journal. And it rides 5 millimeters down and 5 millimeters up from the top and bottom of a traditional Moleskine. Okay, so now the use is fairly similar. The difference with this tool is that it makes more circles. So rather than have those radiate from the side and have those dots be really close together and sort of put the integrity of the stencil at risk, our stencils are really durable, and they have this nice matte finish, so they don't slip around on the paper as easily as some other plastics might. And they're also easy to keep clean. They don't show like fingerprints and smudges. We spent a lot of time sourcing our materials and figuring out a manufacturing process that would allow us to make things like this for the journaling community. Can you tell I'm really proud of what we do? Anyways, so rather than have all these dots radiate and be really close together and put the integrity of the stencil at risk, What I did instead is, and I have an engineering background, so this is the way my mind works. I spiraled the dots out from the center so that they have a little bit of room between them and the stencil's nice and durable. And around the edge you can see, I hope, the tick marks, just like on the smaller original version. However, we didn't think that you would need to split a mandala this large into as many slices like you would the smaller Compass Protractor. So this one will divide your circles into 2, 4, 8, or 16 segments. So the bonus is that it makes 32 circles instead of 14 like the original size, but it makes smaller segments. Now, if you were really bound and determined to make more, a greater number of segments with this, I'm sure you could visually slice your slices into even smaller pieces. Most of the examples that we've seen that people have created with this one are more about either using the mandala as a like a large labeled tracker, like a mood tracker mandala, or a weekly layout where the circle is divided into 8 parts and 7 of them go to the days, and then there's one sort of catch-all container to hold tasks that apply to the entire week that need to be fit in somewhere. So if you look around, you can find a number of different examples of what to do with this. I'll just show you that the function of the mandala, my ruler is in the way, one moment. Okay, is the same. It works just like the function of the Compass Protractor is the same. And because of my ruler, I messed up. So that does not look very pretty. However, I will say that when you make a mandala from this, you end up covering it up with elements anyways. Oh, that reminds me. So even if your line skips a little bit, it's not going to show up later. And that just made me think of something. If you're doing a mandala rather than what I was starting to do, which is a circular weekly layout, you might want to do this with a pencil instead. And here's why. So as you do these rotations, later on, you're going to use, well, you could freehand draw the mandala elements like leaves and little lotus petals and things like that. And then after you draw them in, you may want to erase the pencil. So you might want to use a pencil with the larger Compass Protractor. Or we made a companion stencil called the Mandala Elements stencil. And you can use this stencil with your fine liner. And actually I should make my divisions first, so that I know where to place these. You can tell why I'm not the usual one on camera, and it's because Amy is far better at this sort of thing than I am. But this design is one of my pride and joys. So, and she asked me to talk about what the difference is between these two and why we made them. So here I am stumbling through this. Okay, I've made my tick marks for my divisions, and just like earlier with the original Compass Protractor, I'm gonna make my division lines to guide me through the next part of my process. I should have just written down the information and handed it to Amy because she's much more the rock star on video than I am. Okay, there they are. Hopefully you can see those. And now I'm just going to do a couple so you can get the idea. I can put my elements stencil down on top of it and work my way around the mandala, and I get these nice like uniform shapes to begin with that I can later fill in with little doodles or patterns if you like to zentangle. This can be really relaxing and meditative, and it looks really cool. Let's say I want to do this one here. And there are all different sizes of elements on here, so there's a lot of variation for you, and you can do overlapping and come out the other side of things with a really intricate, interesting mandala to either color in, or we've seen some folks track their moods by making more divisions and then writing or coloring in with a key how they were feeling. And 32 circles gives you one band per day of the month, so you could do a monthly tracker with this. Amy thinks of all these brilliant applications and then sends me off to make her vision come true. You get the idea.